Look at all of those 9 floating around everywhere. I'm going to be explaining to you everything regarding the Lunar Lancer rework. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to another JMP video. I'm your host JonNario, and today I will be talking about the Lunar Lancer's rework in depth. So yes, today I will be going over the Lunar Lancer's numerical things and all of that property that you already know that I normally do on the character. So yes, I will be talking about the Lunar Lancer more in depth as of right now in the Lunar Leap update. Yes, this is going to be the final product pretty much of the Lunar Lancer rework. And I will say that the Lunar Lancer rework, it is pretty interesting. If you want more thoughts on me talking about the Lunar Lancer, I have made a video just explaining my own personal opinions on the characters and its rework. Now, but this time around, I will be going over the numbers behind all of the abilities and all that good stuff. And yes, like I just showcased in the intro, you are going to see very high numbers because this character does indeed have really high damage multipliers. Anyways, like always, I will be just showcasing everything with my Lunar Lancer. Here's the stats of my Lunar Lancer, so you actually have an idea what is going to end up being my Lunar Lancer stats and all that good stuff. My Lunar Lancer is not necessarily the strongest, but it's not necessarily a weak character. It does have a perfect set of gems and equipment and all that good stuff. In terms of like my recommendation, normally I would just recommend going attack speed and movement speed on the Lunar Lancer. And yeah, I will just be going over all of that, but it is not going to be all about my build. It is mainly going to be talking about the numbers. So going over the basic attack and all of the abilities, how do they work, how much damage do they do, and all that good stuff. Let's get started first and foremost with the basic attack. So the basic attack actually did get changed from pre-patch to post-patch. Pre-patch, it was only this stab animation over and over again. It used to do 1 times damage multiplier at a 1.75 attacks per second, and during this update, during all of the various updates and buffs and nerfs or whatever, that this character actually did get is just going to end up being that the multiplier got increased from 1 times damage to 2.8. So now the damage multiplier on the Lunar Lancer is pretty high, being a 2.8 times damage multiplier basic attack at a 1.75 attacks per second on a character that does have attack speed increase by default, well, not by default, but on level up. You're going to see that this basic attack is going to be pretty nice. It has a range of around 6 to 7 blocks in distance. I didn't even test out the range, but yeah, it got increased from 4 to around 6 or 7, so you can even hit enemies from farther away. It also got an animation increase. Well, I wouldn't say an animation increase. It just got an animation difference, which right now, instead of just doing the regular stab, is going to do 3 stabs into the crescent combo. Crescent combo actually did get removed some actual ability, and it is tied to the basic attack on both the regular and on your ultimate ability. So yeah, this is going to be your new basic attack in terms of animation, and meaning it is similar to Crescent Combo. It means that whenever it does the Crescent Combo animation, it's going to hit all enemies around it. So yeah, it is a pretty interesting basic attack. Overall, it got an increase in everything. I'm pretty sure in terms of attacks per second is the same. So attacks per second is also going to end up being 1.75 attacks per second at base, or with a 2.8 times damage multiplier, 7 block range, and much better crowd control. And also the stabbing animation also got an increase in their range, so it is no longer going to end up being pretty much half a block from the side. It is also going to be a little bit farther away, so yeah, you can expect hitting enemies much better, much more reliably with this basic attack, so you're going to definitely notice this. In my own personal opinion, this is by far the biggest change out of the Lunar Lancer's kit, because it is no longer a kit that relies on one ability. Now it relies on basic attack, so yeah, that's why it is going to be a lot different. You will be using this ability a lot on this character, so keep this in mind. Attack speed is going to be mandatory with the Lunar Lancer nowadays, so using this basic attack all the time is going to be very beneficial. Now, moving on to the next ability. The next ability is going to end up being your Grapple. So Grapple is going to be this ability that you see right here. I'm holding it down normally. So this ability is going to be the same as the animation from the Grappling Spear. pre-patch grappling spear, what you do is you throw down a spear and then you press the ability again and you will do this grapple. This grapple actually did get increase in animation speed, and also it got increase in distance. Now, first and foremost, let's start talking about the damage. It used to be a 1 times damage multiplier on both throwing the spear and the grapple AoE. That got increased to 3.5 times damage multiplier. So right now it does 3.5 times damage multiplier whenever you do hit an enemy with the AoE grapple after you do land. So yeah, it's going to happen when you do land, and once you do land, you're going to hit all enemies around it in a 3x3 radius, for as far as I know. So yeah, a 3.5 times damage multiplier, and yeah, it's going to be pretty nice. So a little bit of an application that you can use with the grapple is going to be that the grapple can be cancelled with a lot of abilities. You can cancel out with a mount, you can cancel out with a dodge, or you can also cancel out with bombs and flask. So you can do stuff like this and do this and use the flask, and you can be sent flying like really far away. It can happen also with the Lunar Infused Grapple, so yeah, you can use that for your advantage if you want. So make sure if you're doing the grapple, you can actually just use a flask, and I missed my grapple, of course I did, but yeah, you can actually just use a flask and just send flying like across the map. It's the same thing application with the Lunar Infused Grapple, by the way, so I'm not going to be explaining it all over again. So yeah, both grapples can actually do that. Speaking of the Lunar Infused Grapple or the Lunar Leap, it is going to end up being this second ability, Lunar Leap. So the Lunar Leap is going to end up being this. You press the ability, you're going to be sent flying in the air. This flight and this low falling, you will be there for, I do believe it is 3.5 seconds to 4 seconds. And then you are going to have the Lunar Infused Grapple. As you clearly can see in the hotbar, this is the regular grapple that you see, the blue one right there. But whenever I activate the Lunar Leap, you're going to see that it turns purple. So that is going to be the Lunar Infused Grapple. The Lunar Infused Grapple is going to do increased damage from the regular grapple, and it's going to have its own separate cooldown. So the regular grapple, it has, I do believe, a 7 or 8 second cooldown. I don't remember. Future me is going to put in all of the details regarding the cooldown and such. But yeah, it's going to end up having a pretty substantial cooldown, but you can also just use this alongside the Lunar Infused Grapple, and it's going to have its own separate cooldown. So yeah, you can take that as you will. The Lunar Infused Grapple, I do believe, has like a 10 second cooldown or something like that, and is going to dish out extra damage. The damage gets increased from 3.5 times damage, which is the regular damage from the grapple, to an 8 times damage multiplier. 8 times damage multiplier is pretty high, like it is actually very high for an ability, and 8 times damage multiplier is the same damage multiplier as the Knight Spear Squire, and as the Night Smash, the I-Beam from the Vanguardian, those type of characters that actually are just one-shotting literally everything. So yeah, this Lunar Infused Grapple can one-shot pretty much almost everything. Once you do actually manage to land, you're going to see on the top left that I actually do have somewhat of a buff. This buff, it is going to be activated once you do hit an enemy with the Lunar Infused Grapple. You have to hit an enemy, so if you do miss, it doesn't activate. It has to be hidden. You have to hit an enemy. So yeah, hitting an enemy will give you a damage boost. As you clearly can see, that my damage is going to be at 421,000 in my physical damage, but if I actually do hit an enemy with the Lunar Infused Grapple, I go to 573,000. So how much damage do you actually get? You actually do get a plus 75% bonus physical damage. I do believe 75 or 85%. Again, future me is going to correct me on that one. But either way, bonus percentage damage increase whenever you do hit an enemy with the Lunar Infused Grapple. It's going to be, I do believe it's 85%. So it's a plus 85% bonus physical damage. And just to do a little bit of a brief explanation, what is bonus physical damage? The damage is actually divided into two things: your base damage and bonus percentage damage. Base damage is going to be all of the non-percentage increase that you actually do get. So it is going to be your gears, it is also going to be your ring, your banners, and also most importantly is going to be your gem. So those things that actually do say, for example, this Crystal Level 4 Spear says 8,775 physical damage. No percentage, so it means that I do have 8,775 base physical damage. So the bonus physical damage is going to be the percentage that you do get. So stuff like the ally, mastery, there's a lot of things that actually do gain like bonus percentage damage. So bonus percentage damage is not going to be an exact 20% of the damage that you do see on your character sheet, because that is total. So the bonus percentage damage is going to be 20, in the case of the animated jug, is going to be 20% of your base damage. So if I only had 10,000 base physical damage, but my total physical damage that I saw in my character sheet was 15,000, whenever I actually do equip an ally that increases 20%, it will increase 20% of the 10,000 base damage. So that will be at 2,000 physical damage extra instead of the 15,000 total, which 20% would have been, if I do recall, would have been 3,250. So whenever you actually do see percentage increase, is going to be less than what it actually is. It is going to be a percentage of your base. So meaning that this ability, Lunar Infused Grapple, is going to increase 85%. It's going to be 85% of your base damage. So having higher base damage will net this bonus much higher. So I hope all of that made sense. I've explained this so many times already, but you know, this is for the people that actually don't know how the bonus percentage damage and the actual damage does work out. So if you're playing on the PC, you can actually just hover your mouse over your physical or magic damage, and you will be able to see all of that. You can also see the class multipliers, which is based on your total damage, but I'm not going to explain all of that. But you can actually just check that one out on PC. But on console, you're pretty much screwed out of luck, because you cannot do that. Anyways, with all of that, that bonus physical damage is going to be one of two incredibly high powerful physical damage that you do get. So yes, this character, you can actually just hit an enemy with this ability and you're going to have a buff, meaning that you will be able to do much more damage, which is pretty incredible. Now let's move on over to the ultimate ability, which is going to be Lunar Form. Lunar Form is going to be an ability that you can use at max moon power. If you haven't realized already, the Lunar Lancer right now, if I go into my character, she has no energy regeneration. It used to be an energy regeneration dependent character, but right now it has 0 energy regeneration. The way that you do increase your energy is going to be based on your lunacy passive ability. So as you're going to see right here, using ability or attacking enemies will give moon power. Gather enough to become infused with the power of the moon. Lunar Lancer gains moon power instead of energy. So yes, the energy is going to be called quote-unquote moon power. So it is going to be gotten in several ways. So hitting an enemy with basic will regenerate your energy. Activating Grapple will regenerate your energy even if you do miss. Activating the Lunar Infuse will regenerate your energy, and using the Lunar Infused Grapple will regenerate your energy. So the only one that you need to hit an enemy is going to be the basic attack, and obviously it's going to be based around hits. So if you do have a lot of enemy, it means that you can just generate a lot of energy really quickly. So yeah, that's going to be how you generate energy. Once you do reach max moon power, you're going to see that your character is going to have all of the moons around your character, meaning that you're going to be able to transform into your lunacy form, aka the lunar transformation. So once you do activate your ultimate ability, you're going to go into this big form. This big form is going to have a lot of bonus increases to a bunch of stats. So I will be going over all of them. I do believe you get a bonus physical damage of 175%. So that is 175% bonus physical damage, and increase to your health regeneration by 3 times, if I do recall correctly. You will be able to get 100 stability, so you get a little bit less knockback. You do get 30 base to your movement speed, and I do believe the other thing is going to be that you do take 50% less damage while you're transformed. That transformation damage increase does stack with the Lunar Infused Grapple, so you can actually just use the Lunar Infused Grapple and transform, and you will be able to get a lot of damage increase. As you can tell, my Lunar Lancer has 187,000 physical damage with both of them active, but if one of them deactivates the Lunar Infused Grapple, it goes down to 734. So it does stack with everything that that the Lunar Lancer already has. So you can actually just stack so much damage on this character. It's ridiculous. Seeing high damage on this character is going to be an easy thing. And once you do actually see the multipliers on the abilities on the Lunar Lancer, it's going to be something something to behold, because it is absolutely ridiculous. Again, like I just showcased in the intro, I was literally dealing out max damage like crazy, and you will be able to see that so constantly with the Lunar Lancer. It is ridiculous. Now, let me just transform into the Lunar Infused, and once you do transform, your basic attack will change to the pre-crescent combo. So here's going to be something very interesting that I discovered literally just before actually recording this video, because I was doing some testing. So as you clearly can see that my crescent combo, the first hit does, 95 mil, and then the next one is going to dish out max damage. If I hold down the basic attack, all of the remaining basic attack is going to dish out max damage after the first one. Why is that? It is probably going to end up being maybe a bug, or maybe something that they overlook, because the old basic attack used to dish out higher damage, but they nerfed the damage a little bit. But I do believe the damage that they did nerf was only on the first swing, and they did not nerf literally anything else. So the old damage multiplier, it used to be a 7.5 times damage multiplier, but it got reduced in one of the patch notes on the PTS to 6.8. So the damage multiplier now on the first swing is going to be 6.8, but all of the remaining basic attack after the first hit, if you keep holding it down, is going to dish out 7.5. So that is something very interesting to keep in mind. So 7.5 times damage multiplier is no joke, coming from an attack that is going like this. And this crescent combo is, you can actually just increase the attack speed. And the attacks per second, I do believe it's 1 attacks per second at base. So you can attack up to 3 attacks per second at max attack speed, which is ridiculous. So dealing out 7.5 times damage multiplier, 3 attacks per second, that's pretty ridiculous. And considering the class gem ability is going to be there as well, which I'll explain that maybe towards the end of the video, is very, very strong, very, very powerful. So yes, the damage multiplier is going to be 6.8 on the first swing. And then if you hold down the basic attack, the remaining swing is going to be 7.5. The next ability is going to end up being the throwing spear. I don't know, it is Eclipse Spear. So yes, I know my names, don't worry about it. Bruh. But yeah, this is going to end up being the Eclipse Spear. It is going to be the old first animation on the grappling spear, or if you were familiar when you transform into your lunacy, you threw down the spear. It's literally the same ability, but the only thing is it's going to be that right now it's going to dish out, instead of 1 times damage multiplier, it's going to dish out 5.5. This ability, I do feel it is not as useful as you may think, because considering that you do have basic attack that is dealing out higher damage and it is faster, that ability, I mean, it's good, it's decent, you can just use it as a drive-by type ability and just use it, but the same thing, you can just use the crescent combo. It's going to dish out higher damage. You can use it for long range enemies, but you can easily miss, like you just saw right there. I would probably say this ability feels a little bit odd and out of place with the Lunar Lancer nowadays. It would have been nice if the Lunar Lancer still had the grapple on lunacy mode, but it doesn't. So it sucks. So yeah, the Eclipse Spear is going to be an ability that you're not going to use a whole lot. Either way, it's still a pretty powerful ability. It still has the good 3x3 AoE. It's still going to dish out pretty hefty damage. So, I mean, you can use that as you will, but again, you have Crescent Combo, which already has essentially the same crowd control while dealing more damage. So, it is what it is. Anyways, that is going to end up being Eclipse Spear. Then the next ability is going to end up being Lunar Slam. Probably the coolest ability in the entire game, but also one of the more underwhelming and useless ability in the entire game. What a incredible thing to think about. So this is going to be this ability right there. That ability, Lunar Leap, is going to end up being, a leap ability similar to the Sugar Crash from the Candy Barbarian, but this time around is going to end up being, for the transformation of the Lunar Lancer. One thing that I forgot to mention is that all of this ability actually do cost moon power, so it makes your ultimate ability last less and less, and the ultimate ability gradually just decrease. But obviously you probably could have tell by now that the ultimate ability gradually decrease bit by bit. But yeah, Lunar Slam and all of the abilities actually do take energy, not the basic attack. Anyway, so the Lunar Slam, pretty cool ability. It does have a really good AoE. I do believe it's a 4.5 blocks in AoE. It does 11.5 times damage multiplier, if I do recall correctly. And not only that, it actually does stun an enemy for, I do believe, 3.5 seconds or 4.5 seconds. It's something ridiculous. You can actually just stun an enemy for like a long while. But here's the problem. Number one, the ability is super slow. It's cool to look at, it does a lot of damage, but pretty slow. It takes quite a lot of moon power. I do believe it costs 25 or 30 moon power to use one of those. So it is not necessarily good for your ultimate ability because it takes away a lot of percentage of your actual ultimate ability. So using the Lunar Leap will cost a lot of moon power, it will dish out a lot of damage and it will stun the enemies, but then again, it's a stun, not a snare. Stun like this one does not work on time level bosses, delve bosses, leviathans, so it doesn't work on all of those. It only works on regular enemies and bosses that are from light dungeons. And that's it, it's going to work only on that. And since you're already doing 11.5 times damage multiplier, you're pretty much almost guaranteed to one-shot, so the stun is not going to matter as much. So the Lunar Leap, while being a really cool ability, is not an ability that I would recommend you to use. And the last ability is going to end up being Blessing of the Moon. So Blessing of the Moon is going to be, for those who may remember this ability, is going to be your old ultimate ability. So yeah, this ability is going to be your main secondary DPS type ability. You will be using this ability quite a lot if you want to dish out DPS with the Lunar Lancer. And yeah, it is going to be a pretty powerful ability. It got buffed exponentially from pre-patch to what it is right now. Pre-patch used to be a 10-second duration ability that did 5 times damage multiplier when the spear landed, and then the AoE used to dish out, if I do recall, like 0.25 times damage multiplier. And then the meteorite, which only activated on lunacy, it actually dish out like if I do recall correctly, it was like something like 0.66 or something like that. Either way, it got increased in everything in general, because right now instead of doing 5 times damage, it does 13.5 times damage multiplier. So 13.5 times damage multiplier, pretty powerful. And then not only that, the AoE got increased from, like I just mentioned, 0.25 to, if according to my testing right over here, it is something like 2.25 times damage multiplier. It could be something along those lines. I have not done the full math on that one, but if from my testing, as you can tell right here, my coefficient, it is going to be 14 mil, and I'm dealing out, like with the AoE, I'm dealing out 31 mil, which is around a 2.2 times damage increase, and the meteorite is dealing out like 25 mil or something like that, which, if I do recall, is like a 1.75 times damage or 1.8. It's along that area. Just expect the AoE to dish out around 2.25 times damage multiplier, and not only that, the meteorites that spawn everywhere dish out around 1.8. It's pretty nice in terms of DPS, not gonna lie. So it actually does increase your damage by quite a lot, dishing out some extra damage, a really good burst. Like I just mentioned multiple times, if you have checked the last video, I put it in a timestamp on the comments, like the burst damage potential on this character is ridiculously high, because it does have the basic attack that does, like I just mentioned, 6.8, 7.5, depending on which swing that you do have. And then you have Blessing of the Moon that is dishing out an instant 13.5 times damage multiplier. And then the AoE, then the class gen, which I haven't explained yet. You can clearly see that the numbers do pile up really quickly with this character. Either way, let's start talking about the class gem ability. So the class gem ability, the Shadow Lancer actually did gain change in this rework. I do believe it never actually did show up in the patch notes. Either way, the Shadow Lancer, what it does right now, it used to be whenever you did transform into your ultimate ability, or well, not into your ultimate ability, whenever you did transform into your lunacy, you actually did spawn one Shadow Lancer. You know, it used to dish out 2.5 times damage multiplier, It used to attack once per second. I do believe it used to have HP, so it could take damage from enemies. And yeah, it was an alright class gem. A lot of people called it useless. I would call it just alright. But considering that the Lunar Lancer used to be like a dungeon grinder, you barely use that towards your advantage. Right now, as you clearly can see, a lot of them just scattering around everywhere. That's because they got changed. Instead of just you transforming into your lunacy mode, it actually does trigger whenever you hit an enemy with a basic attack. Hit an enemy with basic, it does have a chance of actually spawning a Shadow Lancer, and that Shadow Lancer is going to work exactly as it used to. But the thing is, he also got a damage bump increase from 2.5 to 3 times damage multiplier, but all of the remaining quality still remains the same. It's still going to be single target, it's still going to attack once per second, and it's still going to have pretty much the minion AI attacking enemies at random. I don't remember if this actually does have HP anymore, but I don't think it does. And anyways, it will last there for quite a while. So a 3 times damage multiplier per minion, and you can have up to a maximum of 5 minions. So imagine that, having 5 minions that trigger on basic attack. So if you're doing something like those and you have a lot of enemies, you can actually just spawn a couple of them and they will help out greatly in terms of DPS. You know, again, 3 times damage multiplier per minion, a total of 5, that's 15 times damage multiplier. They do scale off based on your actual damage increase, so if you are transformed they will do more damage. And if you do have Lunar Infused Grapple plus transformation, you are going to be dishing out some incredibly high damage with these minions. So if I actually do transform, I actually do have the Lunar Infused Grapple, you can clearly see that they will be dishing out some pretty hefty damage, like 50 mil per minion, and yeah, it's 5 minions. That is quite a lot, not gonna lie. So yeah, you can do stuff like this, as you see right here, just seeing 9s literally everywhere and damage numbers literally everywhere. And yeah, that's why the character does have pretty high DPS nowadays. That's why, like, the class gem is actually a really good class gem now, and just give it a whirl. If you haven't used the character for DPS type stuff, or especially for low mid delving or something like that, use it. You will have a lot of fun. It's very surprising, very strong, very powerful, and yeah, you are going to definitely see a lot of damage increase with this character. Either way, that's essentially all of the abilities. How does everything work out in depth? Now, this was a pretty long recording, but I wanted to do a full in-depth on this character, and seeing that just going full in this, so you can actually just digest all of the information for yourself, and you actually do know how everything does work out. Any of the things that I didn't mention, like cooldown durations and such, it's not too important, just knowing all of the cooldown and all of the things with the Lunar Lancer, to be honest with you, because most of the things is just going to be you transform and you go ham with basic attack, and then once you are out of your basic attack, you generally just do basic attack once again, use some of the abilities to actually just get more of the moon power. And yeah, but as you can tell, that is going to be the actual minion limit. So if I actually just go right over here and transform, you're going to see the potential DPS on this character. If I go transform right about now, I will go pot, ult, and then just go ham. And look at all of those numbers, pretty crazy, not gonna lie. But yeah, that's going to be everything for the Lunar Lancer. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing as always. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content like this, and I hope to see you guys next time. Take care and keep on hunting. Once again, let me know what you think of the Lunar Lancer in the comment section down below. See ya.